information, but we will try to start every day at 12:05. So you're probably wondering, what can you expect from a virtual district conference? Well, I can tell you that every day we're going to have a theme, and it's going to be the 7 Rotary areas of focus. Now, some of you may be thinking, hang on, we're up to 7? You'll learn more about that a little bit later on today. So each day, we've got an inspiring and informational keynote speaker. We're going to have information about how our clubs are using the 7 Rotary areas of focus to impact their communities. And additionally, we'll be including some of those traditions of district conference, like we get to introduce next year's district governor. You've already heard from Margie a lot already today. Thanks for filling that time. But we're also going to get to meet next year's club presidents. Or for some of you, you're extending into a second year of club presidents. So God love you for picking up the torch on that one. We will hear from our ambassadorial scholar, Hannah Rowald, on Wednesday. On Thursday, we will have the in memoriam to remember those Rotarians who we've lost since our last district conference. So those are some of the similarities of district conferences. The question is, what's going to be different? Well, depending on how your internet connection goes, there could be quite a bit. I mean, after all, this is free to participate. You don't have to travel out of town. You don't have to stay in a hotel. You don't have to be away from your family for a couple of days. Although some of you may be saying, man, that was part of the thing I really liked about district conference. And while we do miss seeing everybody, it's great that you can just log in from wherever you are. The cool part about this is I started a brand new job today. So I am sitting in my corporate office in Peoria, Illinois, with my first day at work, and we are hosting a district conference. So there you go. I want to extend a special invitation to everybody who is a first-time attendee to the district conference. We hope this is a great experience for you. We hope that you learn more about Rotary, and specifically, we hope you learn about the work that's going on in our district as you join us throughout the week. A big special welcome to all the Monday clubs that are joining us today. We are so honored that you have taken this time to make your meeting the district conference today. So big thanks to our Monday clubs, Cape Girardeau, Chesterfield, Forest Park, Fredericktown, St. Francis County. I hear Jerry Weems yelling in the background. And St. Peter's. So thank you guys for joining us today. There are many of you that are joining us from all over the place, your home, your office. We welcome everybody who's taking the time out of your day to join us here at the district conference. We are kicking off today's session with some words from our district governor, Tom Drennan. I'm sure most of you know Tom. You've run into him over the years. You may have seen him at one of your club's events, or maybe by Zoom as he made his official club visit to you. District Governor Tom has been a member of the Overland Rotary Club for almost 21 years, and he's had perfect attendance since 2009. He and his wife, Joy, are strong supporters of the Rotary Foundation. Tom, as you know, is an avid bicyclist. He rides 100 miles in one day. Why would you do that to yourself? But he does it every November at the El Tour de Tucson Ride for Polio. And he rides with other Rotarians who have raised over $58 million, including the Gates Foundation match for polio over the last 11 years. Professionally, Tom is an insurance agent for Independent Insurers of St. Louis. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our district governor, Tom Drennan. Tom.
The entire District 6060 leadership team, welcome to your district conference. Thanks for joining us today and hopefully for the rest of the week. This promises to be inspiring and informative. This has been quite a year, and I think we can agree that due to the great work of the scientists, medical professionals, and healthcare professionals, and many others, we're getting close to returning to life as we know it before the pandemic. As we transition, as local health guidelines will allow, back to in-person meetings and gatherings, I urge all Rotarians to reach out and engage those members who've not been able to stay connected as it would have liked to, and make them feel welcome and encourage their involvement as we go forward. This would be a great time to showcase your club to potential members. Our district membership chair, Bill Dees from the Hannibal Club, has been doing a great job in bringing new ideas to all of our district Rotarians through interactive sessions with club leaders. The results are beginning to show positive results. As Mike had mentioned, my Rotary history goes back over 20 years. By welcoming and taking to heart each Rotary theme such as this year's theme, Rotary Opens Opportunities to Heart, as they are unveiled each January at the International Assembly. I do not consider the themes to be replacing prior years, but adding on to the past legacy of Rotary and showing the way to the future. I've had the honor and privilege to get to know many of my fellow Rotarians throughout our district, and we will celebrate some of the achievements of our clubs and Rotarians this week. The tenacity of our Rotarians is utterly amazing, and our world is a better place for it. Our club presidents have risen to the occasion by keeping their members engaged and involved in the many great causes they've been known for. Throughout the pandemic, we've seen our clubs rise to the occasion in many different ways. They are epitomizing serve to change lives, whether it was preparing box lunches for healthcare workers at a local hospital or assisting at vaccination sites. Clubs have organized blood drives. They've stood out in the cold ringing the bell to keep the Salvation Army red kettles full. They've raised money and increased awareness for the fight to end polio. They've been keeping commuter parking lots and highways clean. They've collected food to restock food pantries. They've held barbecue cookout fundraisers. Many clubs are providing leading scholarships for local graduates. Our clubs have demonstrated adaptability and resilience while throughout the world. Our district leadership team has been working tirelessly to make
Hey, Dave, seeing that it seems we're having some technical issues, what do you say we introduce Chris Wells, who is our keynote speaker today?
That sounds like a wonderful idea.
Chris, I see
And
that you've joined us.
Chris is here, so we see. I was stalling. No, I wasn't. Ladies and gentlemen, truly my apologies. Tom, if you want to take the role, and you've got the background on Chris, so I'll let District Governor Tom Drennan introduce Chris for us.
Thank you, David. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. It was my distinct pleasure to first hear Chris Wells at the Rotary International Convention in Hamburg, Germany in the summer of 2019. He had an outstanding presentation that was truly inspiring to the probably 10,000 Rotarians and guests that were there. He said a lot of new ideas, shared some new ideas that I think we could all take to heart and to help bring youth into Rotary. And Chris Wells is a member of the Harborough Rotary Club. He lives about 90 miles north of London in Great Britain. And without further ado, Chris, sorry, can you hear me okay? We'd love you to kick it off and share your great story with us.
Hello. Yeah, can everybody hear me? Can I just see some thumbs? I just need some thumbs. I love it when I go, does anybody hear me? And everyone just goes like, and I'm just like, and then only on my view, I could only see a few people. No, hi everybody. Yeah, so hi, I'm Chris Wells. I forgot what time it is where you are. It's like midday, isn't it? It's like, this is like the end of my day. And like I was at, I've been at work, and then like I had this moment where I looked and I saw Tom, and he's all dressed all nice, and everyone's in their shirts. And then I'm here with my butterflies and my little cardigan to keep me warm because it's quite chilly here at the minute. But no, hi, I'm Chris Wells. I've been involved in Rotaract and Rotary across the Midlands. So I'm from Market Harborough, which is right in the very centre of England. Like if you were really good at darts and you just hit right in the centre, it's right near Leicester, if anyone knows Leicester, or Leicester if you say it wrong, same as Market Harborough. So yeah, and what happened was, long story short, I just by sheer luck was introduced to a Rotarian. One of my friends knew I was going for a bad time, and they were like, you should talk to this guy. He's a Rotarian. I'm like, what on earth is a Rotarian? And then I looked at the logo, and I was like, oh, those are those like old people that fill up restaurants and pubs, and they ring bells, and that's it. And he's like, no, it's not what you think. And we do this and we do that. And all of a sudden, as they explain it, it was wonderful. The amount of like all this amazing stuff. He goes, yeah, all this charity and this. I was like, why haven't I heard of this before? And it's like, and I've been involved now with Rotary and Rotaract for, like I said, 5-6 years. And one of the things I hate, it's a term that I hate more than anything in the world, is that term of like, it's one of the world's best kept secrets is Rotary. And it's like, why is it a best kept secret? Why has nobody heard of it? And it's like, I think a lot of us, sometimes we're very bad at kind of showing what we do in a kind of way, because the beautiful thing about Rotary is because of how big, and I can never remember the word, like not enormous, I want to say gelatinous, but it's not, like a big amorphous, maybe that's the word, a big gelatinous amorphous thing, because that's what's incredible about it. The amount of people even here today, the amount of people that all share these values and this stuff, and how big it is, and the amount of stuff, it obviously becomes this amazing complex thing that achieves so many amazing things. But back in 2015, that was the last thing I knew. I didn't know anything. And at the time, Jim Davis was the man, the Rotarian that I knew, I still know. And he said to me, he was like, you should look at starting up a Rotaract club. And I was like, all right, what does it do? And he goes, whatever you want it to do, which is really unhelpful when you try and find something to do. And upon talking with him, I went to the nearest Rotaract club, which at the time was in Kettering. And in our district at that time, there was 2 Rotaractors. Not clubs, Rotaractors. That was about it in terms of that things. And I went to a pub or a bar, and I was 95% sure I was going to get murdered on my way out, or like I was going to get all my money stolen or something like that, because it was just like me, you know. And you know, it's a bar and there's music, but imagine instead just like a ticking clock, just. He goes, so what do you guys do? Oh, we're going to go for a meal soon. And I was like, oh my God, I need to get out of here. So when I went back to gym, I was like, what did you do to me? Where have you done this? This isn't helping what I think. And he goes, no, Chris, do whatever you like. Do whatever the kinds of things you want to do. So we did it. Market Harbour Road Tract was born. And all of a sudden, we started doing different things, started doing amazing things. I became president and we started getting involved in local events and local things. All of these magical and wonderful stuff going on just around my face right now, and even more so than now. And we started off helping out with little events. We started helping out with big events. We started running our own events, started running our own clubs, started doing all these sponsored things and helping out. Even, as you can see on my right-hand side, even holding chickens. That was how big it was. That was how much we were doing and getting involved with. And the way we started it, when we first met up as a Road Track Club, having no idea what we were going to do, I basically, for lack of a better term, kidnapped a load of my friends and brought them over to a house, and we started collecting tinned food. Every person that came over had to bring a bag full of cans and tinned food, and it just so happened that I knew somebody who ran a homeless shelter that was doing collections that time, and we all did that. We put it out, and all of a sudden, we've done our first act of service. All of a sudden, without really knowing what it was, we started being Rotarians and started being Rotaractors. And then using my experience from university and setting up clubs, you always need to have something to meet about. So what we did was we started to do a quiz or a trivia night, as Americans know it more better as. And we started doing this trivia night, and it was basically just I was a quiz master, being loud and shouty as I am. And we started raising some money and raising awareness for what we were. And these became our tent poles, and we started doing more and more. And it meant no matter what, every single meeting we ever did always at least had a meeting about the quizzes. So it gave us momentum. We started growing and we started doing all this stuff. And between that and all of the other amazing acts of things, I realized it doesn't have to be this big gelatinous. It's not gelatinous. I'm going to keep calling it gelatinous. This big gelatinous, ominous, enormous blob. It doesn't have to be that. I realized all the stuff we were doing, it's just do-goodery, because that's what it is, isn't it? When you really think about it, that's what it is. We do good. That's it. You think about everything else going on, all these complicated, all this thing. No, we make the world a slightly better place than it was before. That's what it is. Do good, do goodery. That's it. A perfect answer to that question of what is Road Tract? What actually is Road Tract? In a statement, we do good, do goodery. Same as Rotary. We do good. We put more good in the world than was there before. That's the thing I love about it. It's the reason that I get up in the morning for doing stuff like this. It's just amazing. And now, sorry, I'm trying like a new complicated system to make my PowerPoint look really cool, so I can do like black and white confessionals like this, be like, hello, this is me doing my confession. So I'm trying to like make it all complicated and look really cool and good, and then every once in a while I get the buttons mixed up. But you know, here's me in black and white. Oh no, there's not me in black and white. There's the next slide. Oh no. Okay, that's fine. We'll just go to the next slide. Let's go to the next slide. So I want to take you to a time now, imagining back in the past, and televisions look like this, the 1980s and 1990s. And in the 1980s and 1990s, content warning, people looked like this. I know, I'm sorry. It's a terrifying image. But back in the time where people looked like this with this amazing hairdo, across Great Britain and Ireland, they were approximately 25,000 Rotaractors. Now let's contrast that with 2015 when I thought I was going to get murdered in a pub. There was approximately across Great Britain and Ireland 1,000 Rotaractors. And anybody who can do maths, or just, you know, anybody looking at this is going to be asking the same question. They're going to be thinking, why? What happened? What went on? What? Oh, wait. Oh, I can go, let me do moody black and white. What went on? What happened? How did it all go down? And the thing is there's 100 different reasons why. And once again, the beautiful thing about this big, enormous, gelatinous, ominous thing that Rotary is that it is different in every area. It's different in every part of the country. It's different in every country. It's so different. But one of the big reasons I think that happened was, especially in the 1980s, 1990s, Rotary was growing and doing really well. But it was also aging and becoming more professional. And it was like, right, well, if you want to do this, it becomes this high on the thing. And then what happened is younger Rotaractors were like, well, I don't have enough time. They're developing in their professional career and they're moving forwards and they're doing this. And they don't have time. They don't have time to do and join these things, or it feels too ominous, gelatinous, enormous, promiscuous. It's not, but you know, it feels like there's too big a thing to kind of get involved in. And over time, less and less Rotaractors started going through, and then the momentum started going down the Road Tract, and that was how we got back to Oh, but that was how we. No, oh, that was how. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. That's why. That was how we got to this. That was how we got from 25,000 to 1,000 Rotractors. And the thing is at the same time, Rotarians, because this is what time does, started getting older. The average age in some clubs now is 71, and that's only going up. And then this is why more Rotractors need to get involved. But the problem is that gap gets bigger and bigger. And to the uninitiated and people who don't even know what Rotary is, the idea of just joining this group with a load of old people doesn't sound particularly attractive, especially if you don't know what Rotary actually does. And I can assure you, I now know Rotarians who are definitely a lot younger, and also obviously every club's different and every area is different, but I know Rotarians now. I'm a Rotarian, I'm 31. I know Rotarians now who are joining the clubs at 28, 29, because they start knowing that central thing that we do. They start knowing about do-goodery. And so, moving on, thinking about all of this service, all of this stuff that we were doing across the district now, these are photos of the entire district. This is photos across now District 1070 that I'm in. We now have, I've lost 5 or 6 clubs. We've got well over 40, 50 members across the whole district, all doing amazing things and getting involved even during COVID, which hopefully if time I'll get onto later. But this is what it is now. This is what we're doing. This is, as I like to say, if I press the right button, this is what I like to say is do-goodery, because that's what it is. We're making the world a better place. We're doing this. And the other thing to remember, as I said at the start, this is my favorite slide. I've used this slide in everything. We're all in this together. We're all riding the same bike to the same place. We're all doing this. And I think it's essential to remember that. We're all going to the same thing. We're all doing do-goodery. That's it. That's all we want. And actually, once you start uniting and realizing you're moving towards the same thing, you have the same goal, you get to do more and you get to work together. The way that we formalize this and make this more, for lack of a better, I can't remember the word. This is not a bad speaker, Chris. No, it's fine. This is how we started doing it. We became contemporary Rotractors and we started having ambassadors. These were our links between Rotract and Rotary. These were people normally assigned whose one job was anytime any of us Rotractors get confused about health and safety, paperwork, or anything even interesting, suppliers, other things, we know we have a person to go speak to. We have a person whose responsibility it is keeping up that communication. And it's wonderful. We have these ambassadors, or as I like to call them, ambassador-gooders, or if you read this incorrectly, ambassador-gooders. But the principle remains the same. Because a lot of the time, and in some places especially, a lot of Rotractors don't necessarily have enough time, being young professionals moving through a lot of things, and not all, I feel like I have to say not all, it's going to sound like I'm saying it's all, but it's not. There are a lot of Rotarians are retired and they may have a bit more time. They have a bit more experience and wisdom and confidence to raise bigger projects, to fill out scary looking sponsorship forms or applications and other things, but then maybe not be able to, you know, stand out all day in a car park helping guiding traffic or standing out or doing this because, you know, weak knees and the passage of time. But Rotaractors are there and it's working together. It's doing that and working together and guiding us and helping us move forwards through all of this. And so these are just some of the charities that we have been helping over the past 4 or 5 years, working tirelessly together and generating money and help and support and do-goodery for all of these amazing charities that wouldn't have been done if it wasn't for us working with Rotary, us working with Rotract, that do-goodery, doing that together. One of the ones I really want to talk about is Different Strokes. Different Strokes is a support group for young victims of stroke, and young is classed as anyone of working age. So that can be under the age, well, let's be honest, under the age of 65, 70, 100 at this point. But genuinely, it is a very difficult thing for a lot of people. We know, and also it's a lot more common than you think. I knew someone who at 16 went to bed just before Christmas and woke up in February. Like, it's a terrifying thing. And the thing is as well, is that often people can come out of this feeling isolated, people going, oh, I understand, but they don't. Or people being disabled and feeling embarrassed or being unable to go outside and feeling isolated from all of that. And that can lead to, you know, some awful things. So the idea of creating a support group, and that became our regular project. This became the regular thing that we were doing. No more one-off events, no more things. This became our regular event. And a couple of years ago, this was what our first meeting looked like. And if you want to know what the current meetings look like, just turn off my screen and see all the other screens, because now it's all meeting online and on Zoom. And in fact, in COVID times, we do it even more regularly because they want, as a lot of people did, wanted a bit more support and wanted more time. And people found it really helpful just to be together. But once again, look at this image of people just sitting together, sharing those experiences. That wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Rotary and Rotaract putting this in, supporting and helping people. And during times where maybe we can't turn up, or times where we needed help with health and safety, or times where we needed just a bit more support, Rotary was there. The Rotarians came and supported us. They were there. So the answer of what is Rotaract, what is Rotary, we know it. And normally if I do this on stage, I get people to shout it. It's all exciting. We all go deaf. It's do goodery. That's it. That is the sole answer to that question to me. It is do goodery, do goodery, do goodery. And now I want to go to the last letter of that word. Why? You know, Chris, you're talking about this, you're excited, or blah, blah, blah. Why? Why do you care? What's the point? Why do you think this is so important? You know, doing charity stuff's fine, but why else? What else is it here? Well, reason number one, I made this slide like a year and a half ago, and it's becoming, no, 2 years ago, and it's becoming even more relevant every time I do this speech, and it's terrifying. Reason number one, the world feels like a garbage fire sometimes, a big old trash fire. I, for a long time, especially over the past 12 months, have been really struggling just watching the news, just looking about anything that's going on in the world. Just like, you got to stay informed. And just every time I do that, it's just like a kick in the groin, or like a punch in the face, or all of above, all melding into one horrible thing. And genuinely, it can be really difficult, and it makes you feel awful. You look on social media and everyone's arguing, people's just being all of this, and you just forget. You think that that's the world right now. And then actually you go outside and all of a sudden it's like, oh, everything's not on fire. And then I go to these meetings, I speak at these things, I meet you amazing guys, we do things, they do things, all of us are working together, even during this pandemic, even during times we can't get out of bed. And remember, no, the world isn't all an awful place. Everybody isn't all awful. There are good people. And the beautiful thing the thing I love so much about Rotary and Rotaract is we get to kind of clump them together. Like, I know that 90%, 99% of the Rotarians I meet are going to be lovely people because they share that value of do-goodery, that value of making the world a better place. So it can be really reassuring, especially when the world feels like this. Reason number two, loneliness on the rise, mental health issues. Once again, I made this slide before the current situation. Let's all say it together, COVID-19. Before all of this, before COVID-19 came and messed up a lot of things and made the world feel a bit more difficult and far away and hard and heavy, there was a mental health crisis already going on and people were already trying to reach out for help. Now imagine what's going on where it's even more isolated. As someone who has a support system and lives alone, it's not an easy time. I can't even imagine what it's like for people who don't have a support system or don't have amazing people around them. And I really wish more of them knew about Rotary and Rotaract. They knew about this group of do-goodery. They knew about this stuff and these things we want to do and how we want to make the world a better place. And then we can work together and we get to know each other, we get better, and we develop that friendship, that fellowship, shared on those values of do-goodery and making the world a better place. Because that does make everything feel a lot less lonely. It does open up more trust. So if anything, when I tell people why you should start up a Rotaract club, consider it an act of service. Consider it opening up different opportunities for younger people who may feel really isolated in the world right now, and remind people that there are good people out there. Reason number three, in fact, this didn't help actually. I pressed the wrong button. So just pretend I didn't do this, okay? Let's just fade that away for a second. Hello. I did the wrong button. It's okay. It's all a complicated. I've got so many quick keys and hotkeys I'm doing and pressing on this button to make it look all cool and complicated and slick, but it's okay. Right. Reason number three. And also textbook COVID bloody coming in and ruining my speech in the middle. Typical. Anyway, right. Reason number three, in 2030, when television's probably look like this, let's be honest, who's going to be doing that service? Thinking about the average age in some clubs being over 70, Who's going to be doing service? Who's going to be doing this stuff? Who's going to have the energy and go out and do all these amazing things? Remember, we're in this together. We're just here for the same thing. We want the same thing. Moving towards the same place, moving towards do goodery, making the world a better place, working together. I want to share now my favorite photo that I've taken. In fact, it perfectly summarizes that image. So then remember in that image, let me just say, this is the perfect real life version of this. That is a Rotarian and a Rotaractor going down a really tall building in Northampton. I forgot the name of the building. Let's just call it the Eiffel Tower. There they are going down the Eiffel Tower in Northampton, England, raising thousands and thousands of pounds for different strokes, making the world a better place. And the thing I always think about is, where else would you see that? Where else do you see different generations of people just hanging out? Where else do you meet people at different age, unless you work in a school or with youth? So that's work and maybe family. And through that, through Rotary and doing this and this fellowship and sharing those values, even Tom, I've had a call with Tom. I know Tom now. We've had a nice chat and he's been very patient with me as I sometimes get too depressed to reply to emails. He's brilliant and it's a good time. But like, where else would I have met him? Aside from doing stuff like this, where else would I meet half of you guys? Or you see me, or we do this and we share these values and we share this thing. That's why I love it. Also, by the way, the guy on that side is that guy here. He's been a Rotaractor his whole life. This is actually a photo back in the day of Rotaractor in the 1980s and 1990s. That was how I knew how one of the reasons Rotaract went the way it is. And Alan Dukes, the man in that photo, he always shared that value. In fact, Alan Dukes, the man in that photo on the right, on the left-hand side for you guys, he actually is best friends or good friends with this guy here. That guy there is my boss now, because I went through a hard time in my life a couple of years ago and I quit my job. I did that thing where you quit your job and you don't have a safety net and you're like, uh-oh, and it's terrible and it's terrifying. And what do you do? Oh my goodness. And then luckily for me, Alan Dukes knew someone, a Rotarian knew someone, networking, Rotary opens opportunities. And that was how I led and worked in that job now. And my boss is amazing. He's Andy Gilbert from Go Mad Thinking. And he's a brilliant dude because we share that value. He always believed in Rotaract and Rotary. And that was also a good shorthand as well. It opened that opportunity for me because he was like, well, if he's involved in Rotaract, he can't be that bad. And so that's the thing. All of this story, this whiz-bang tour of just parts and little snippets of all these stories, it comes back. But if there's one word, you know the word, it's do-goodery. Because that's what it is. We're here to make the world a better place. In fact, very quickly, I'll just quickly tell you a quick side story about this, about the dreaded, the terrible, the COVID-19. And obviously this was going on. And then thinking about the way the world's changed, so did our meetings. Our meetings just became this. This was a very small meeting. We normally have more people. Hundreds, in fact. My views when I ran quizzes went from this to this. And in fact, it's changed now. And then all the people getting involved, this was their experience now, no longer sitting things, but still getting involved, still doing this, still working together because we had that shared value. We had that shared goal, and it's do-goodery. We want to make the world a better place. And that doesn't stop just because the world has changed, just because the world has changed, just because everything's different doesn't mean we have to stop what we're doing. We just stop the way that we're doing things. We just change and do things differently. And that's what we're doing. In fact, in terms of acts of service, we've probably done more over the past year, if not the same as we had the year before, except this time, you know, we get to do most of it in our underpants. I've got to meet more Rotaractors and Rotarians across the world than I have done over the past year. Admittedly, sometimes in my underpants. Today I'm wearing jeans, don't worry. And that's what I love, because we're all in here for the same place, and that is do-goodery, and that is all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Chris Wells, that is amazing. You are, man, thank you so much for sharing your philosophy with us. And yes, we are 6 hours behind you. So we appreciate the fact. Did you say you're working for a guy and your job is Mad Men Thinking?
Go mad thinking, go make a difference thinking.
I love
That
that.
is.
Go Mad Thinking, I think, would fit you extremely well. But
Yes, thank you.
man, you're amazing. Thank you so much for taking some of your time and sharing your story with us.
And thank you so much for having me. And as always, being so kind and lovely and brilliant.
And most of us are wearing pants as well. So
Excellent.
I think we're all in the same mode. Chris Wells, thank you very much. We're all giving you a round of applause, but we're all muted, so you can't hear that right now.
That's okay. Thank you so much.
But thanks, man. So do Goodery, guys. Take that around, share it with your clubs. It's just fun to say, if nothing else. Do Goodery. And I want to see some kids actually riding a bike together like that. I never had that kind of balance.
That's the dream.
It is.
My hope is I get enough budget in these speeches to have like circus acts on bikes.
It
looks
love
like an Olympic opening ceremony. That'll be the dream.
Dave Robinette, we are going to get you a Chris Wells hot keyboard, so you're going to be able to switch around and do all these things. Who knows what our district conference is going to look like down the road, but by golly, that was pretty amazing. Chris, thank you again for taking the time. We appreciate it. Well, folks, each day this week, we are going to have a theme related to Rotary's 7 areas of focus. And beginning on Tuesday of this week, we're going to share video highlights of service projects, much like what Chris just did. But we're going to show you of what's going on in the different areas of focus around the district. So today, however, we're going to start with an overview of the 7 Rotary areas of focus. And like I said before, some of you are going, wait, we have 7? You'll know more about this after this video. So check it out.
In hopes that this video's audio actually plays.
If not, we'll invite Chris Wells back. So there you go. He's got more videos.
Each day this week, we'll be spending a few minutes talking about Rotary's areas of focus for humanitarian service. Many of you are familiar with the original 6 areas of focus, but you may not know that Rotary International has recently added a 7th area to the list, the environment. I'm sure this list looks familiar to most of you. Many of our clubs have completed local service projects in these various areas. Throughout this week, we'll be taking a look at those projects and highlighting the successes of our clubs in advancing Rotary's influence in each of these critical areas. Today, however, we want to take a look at the bigger picture. On an international level, why are these the 7 areas that Rotary International has identified to maximize our impact? In what ways do these 7 areas reflect some of the world's most critical and widespread humanitarian needs? Promoting peace and conflict resolution is a serious issue in many parts of the world. Statistics. 20,000 people are maimed or killed by landmines every year. 51 million people are currently displaced from their homes due to armed conflict or persecution. 90% of the casualties in armed conflict are civilians, and half of those are children. Rotarians around the world are helping to address these concerns by providing relief to those who have fled areas of conflict, or helping children who have been orphaned, injured, or traumatized by conflict, introducing conflict resolution skills in schools, workplaces, and communities, and addressing the underlying causes of conflict that include poverty, inequality, lack of education, and unequal distribution of resources. Statistics related to disease prevention are equally surprising. 1 billion people suffer from neglected tropical diseases. 2.4 million doctors and other health professionals are needed worldwide. 57 countries have fewer than 23 healthcare workers for every 10,000 people. 100 million people every year are pushed into the poverty by medical costs, and 1 out of 6 people worldwide cannot pay for their health care. Rotarians are addressing disease prevention by immunizing people against infectious diseases, supporting health education programs, and supporting the continuing education and training of healthcare workers. Also, they improve access to healthcare in underserved areas. Closely related to disease prevention is the focus on water and sanitation. 2.5 billion people lack access to adequate sanitation. 748 million people don't have access to clean water. 1,400 children die because of the lack of water and sanitation every day. 6 hours per day is what women in some parts of the world spend collecting water every day for their families. Rotarians focus on water and sanitation as they build wells and install latrines, promote good hygiene habits like washing hands taught through educational programs, providing water filters and disinfectants for home use. We all share a concern for 6.3 million children under the age of 5 die every year of malnutrition, poor health care, and inadequate sanitation. 1 in 39 women in parts of Africa are at risk of dying due to complications of pregnancy. 80% of maternal deaths could be prevented with better health care services and better trained health care workers. Some of the ways Rotarians address these concerns is by providing immunizations and antibiotics to prevent deaths due to malaria, pneumonia, measles, and diarrheal diseases, providing educational programs related to good nutrition, and supporting training programs for health professionals. Many of our own Rotary clubs address this next area of focus, and that's basic education and literacy. 57 million children worldwide are not in school. 1.7 million teachers are needed just so the world can reach the goal of having universal primary education. 781 million people are illiterate. Rotarians work to improve literacy by providing teacher room supplies, promote student enrollment in schools, and the prevention of health-related absences from school.
Mike, if you are there, I'm going to hand it back to you. Zoom is doing something funky on my system, as you all probably saw in changing my audio all the time. Can you
No
do
worries,
something
man.
famous ad lib to get us out of this mess?
We can do that. We're going to wrap up today's conference. Up until the pandemic, I used to think that Zoom was a PBS show based out of Boston, Massachusetts. If you're my age, you used to remember, send it to Zoom, right, Jerry Kattenbach? That's how we used to do that, right? It was a show that was on back then. So we're going to wrap up today. You never know how a virtual conference is going to go. And over this past year or so, I'm sure many of you have had these Zoom calls that you're like, okay, that was interesting. But at least I got to see Lloyd Miller today. So life is good. He hasn't encouraged me to run for governor yet. And I don't mean of Rotary, I mean of the state of Missouri. So we're all good on that standpoint. I know Tim Walkenhorst has a stand-up desk now. So that's great. I do want to take a moment and say a special recognition to all of the past district governors who have joined us here today and who are on the Zoom call. I've been scrolling around just trying to see your faces again. I know one of the things we talked about that is a positive of doing a virtual conference is you don't have to leave your home, but there was a really good time of getting folks around a bar, especially not to encourage drinking, but just to talk, but getting people around a bar at a district conference and sharing stories and catching up with one another. So if nothing else, it's really good to see everybody. And I'm glad that you joined us today. Tomorrow, we hope you will come back. And I swear it's going to be better. And I know that because it's a whole new day. But tomorrow we get to hear from our district governor-elect, Marty Sammons is going to be joining us. We are also going to get to meet all the incoming club presidents. So Bob Kane, make sure that you're here for that. We want to make sure that we get to recognize you. So everybody who's taking office on July 1st, or Kent, those who are abdicating for another year and forcing your current club president, Erica, to stay on for another year, I just had to throw that out there, brother. So tomorrow's theme is going to be focused on health, and we are going to see some health-related projects that have been happening in our clubs throughout this past year, despite all of the coronavirus pandemic things that have been going on. Don't forget, you can use the same Zoom link all week long to take advantage of the virtual district conference. We are hoping to start the warm up to see the materials that are playing around 11:45. Like Dave said, the link will open actually at 11:30, but we'll probably start playing stuff around 11:45. And we plan to start promptly at 12:05, God willing, and the creek don't rise, as they say. Other than that, folks, thank you very much for being a part of our first day of our first ever virtual district conference. On behalf of our Chief Engineer, Past District Governor Dave Robinette, my name is Mike Elam. Thanks for spending a little part of your day with us today. We hope to see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.